A poor man walked the cold streets with empty pockets, but a warm heart. One night, he found something on the sidewalk that would change his life forever. It wasn't money. It wasn't food. It was a shivering, lost dog looking up at him with pleading eyes. What happened next will remind you that kindness always finds its way back. It was another chilly evening in the small town. People hurried through the streets, their coats wrapped tightly, their hands carrying shopping bags filled with groceries and gifts. Among them walked Armand, a man whose life looked very different. His coat was worn out, patched at the elbows, and his shoes barely held together. His pockets were empty, not even enough for a warm loaf of bread. Armand lived in an abandoned shed at the edge of town. Every morning he searched for odd jobs, carrying bags, sweeping sidewalks, or fixing broken chairs for a few coins. But most days he earned nothing. He had grown used to hunger, but not to loneliness. People passed him by every day, their eyes avoiding his. To them, he was invisible, just another poor man on the street. Yet behind those tired eyes, Armand still carried a heart full of gentleness. He never begged, never shouted. Instead, he quietly tried to help wherever he could. Once he returned a wallet he found on the ground, though it had enough money to feed him for months. Another time, he helped an old woman cross the busy road, even though he knew she wouldn't remember his face. On this particular evening, Armand's stomach growled from hunger. He hadn't eaten since morning, and the cold winds pierced through his thin coat. As he slowly walked down a quiet street, his eyes caught movement near a lamppost. There, curled up and trembling, was a small dog. Its fur was dirty, its collar torn, and its eyes filled with fear. The poor animal whined softly, too weak to bark. Armand's heart sank. He knew what it was like to be alone, unwanted and invisible. Without hesitation, he knelt beside the dog. "Hey there, little one," he whispered softly. The dog lifted its head, sniffing his hand, then slowly wagged its tail. Armand gently picked it up, holding it close to his chest, sharing what little warmth he had. He had no food to offer, no blanket to cover it. But he gave what he could, his comfort, his care, his presence. That night, instead of curling up alone in his shed, Armand placed the dog beside him. He took off his coat and wrapped it around the little creature. He whispered, "Don't worry. I'll take care of you." For the first time in a long while, Armand didn't feel completely alone. He didn't know where the dog came from, or if it had a family searching for it. All he knew was that they had found each other. And in that cold, dark night, that was enough. The next morning, Armand woke up to the sound of soft whimpers. The dog nudged him with its nose, hungry and weak. Armand smiled gently, though his heart ached. He barely had food for himself. How could he feed this little soul? Still, he carried the dog in his arms and set out into the town. He stopped at the bakery, hoping the kind old baker might spare some scraps. But the man frowned. "Armand, I'm sorry. I can't give away food every day. I have my own family to feed." Armand nodded silently. He understood, though disappointment weighed heavy in his chest. He walked to the marketplace, asking softly if anyone had lost a dog. Most people ignored him. A few gave him suspicious looks. "Probably not even yours," one man muttered. "Don't steal someone's pet," another shook his head. "Why would a poor man like you care about a dog?" The words stung. Armand wanted to shout, to tell them he wasn't trying to steal, that all he wanted was to return the dog to its rightful home. But instead he stayed quiet. He simply held the dog closer, shielding it from the cold wind. Hours passed, and still no one claimed the dog. Armand grew weaker with hunger. He thought about giving up, leaving the dog at the animal shelter on the other side of town. But he knew the shelter was overcrowded, and many dogs there never found homes again. As the sun began to set, Armand sat on the steps of a closed shop, the dog nestled in his lap. He stroked its fur and whispered, "I may not have much, little one, but I'll keep you safe. Even if the world doesn't care, I do." His voice trembled. A tear rolled down his cheek. He had so little, yet still chose to give. In that moment, it seemed like his kindness was wasted. Like no one saw his efforts, like his life would always be unnoticed. But just as Armand began to lose hope, fate had something different planned. A car pulled up near the shop where Armand sat. The door opened, and a young woman rushed out, her eyes wide with relief. "Bella!" she cried. The dog in Armand's lap lifted its head and wagged its tail wildly. The woman ran forward, kneeling down. Tears filled her eyes as she hugged the dog tightly. "I thought I lost you forever," she whispered. Then she looked up at Armand, noticing his torn clothes, his tired face, and the gentle way he held her beloved pet. You found her?" she asked, her voice trembling. Armand nodded slowly. "She was alone. I just wanted to keep her safe." The woman's eyes softened. She saw not just a poor man, but a kind soul who had protected what she loved most. "Thank you," she said firmly. "You don't know how much this means to me." She reached into her bag and pulled out her wallet. "Please let me give you something for your kindness." Armand shook his head. "No, miss. I don't need money. I just wanted her to be safe." The woman's heart melted. She had met many people, but never someone like this. A man who had nothing, yet still refused payment for his goodness. She paused for a moment, then said, "At least let me help you. Do you have a place to stay?" Armand hesitated. Shame filled his eyes. "Just a shed at the edge of town." The woman stood up, determination in her voice. "Not anymore. Come with me." Armand blinked in disbelief. "What?" She smiled warmly. "Anyone who can care so deeply, even when he has nothing, deserves better. You saved my Bella. Let me help you." For the first time in years, Armand felt hope rise inside him. Not because of money or comfort, but because someone had finally seen him, not as a beggar, but as a human being with a heart. That night, he followed the woman to her home, where he was given a warm meal and a clean bed. Bella curled up beside him, wagging her tail happily. Armand realized something. Kindness is never wasted. What you give, even in silence, always finds its way back to you, sometimes in the most unexpected ways. Kindness doesn't depend on wealth. It depends on the heart. Armand had nothing, yet he gave everything he could, and because of that, his life changed forever. One act of love saved a dog, and restored hope in a man's heart. Remember, even the smallest kindness can light someone's darkest night.